Crypto presents exciting new opportunities for the investment-minded, but it's also volatile and accelerating in complexity. That's why we created Token Metrics, an intelligent crypto platform backed by an industry-leading combination of data, AI, and media that feeds optimized portfolios to crypto investors. Featuring Token Metrics ratings to help you find the best investment opportunities in real time, an indices page that showcases various model portfolios, and deep insights into price predictions and technical analysis, a dedicated NFT dashboard that evaluates NFT collections and assets by our machine learning algorithm to find the most profitable and secure NFTs across all available blockchains. Plus, with access to Token Metrics TV, monitor 24/7 exclusive crypto news and analysis. Whether you're a first-time trader or a seasoned crypto investor, you can stay informed and in control, backed by your all-in-one crypto companion, Token Metrics. Take control of crypto today at...
All right. Happy Friday. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Token Metrics live stream. We're being joined by Forrest. Hey, Forrest, how's it going?
Going well. Thanks for having me on as usual. It's always a pleasure.
All right, awesome. Likewise. So we'll go ahead and just do some quick intros for people who are maybe brand new to the stream. I'm Ian, founder and CEO of Token Metrics, and also general partner at Token Metrics Ventures. Then Forrest, want to do a quick intro on Sustained Research?
Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO of Sustained Research. Our goal is to identify asymmetric risk-reward opportunities in the market and present them to our clients. I was formerly head of research over at Token Metrics, so it's I love coming back and doing these live streams.
Yeah, awesome. Let's actually put out the announcement that we're live. We're actually live an hour earlier than normal. I do have to catch a flight, so I had to change the time. But definitely, we'll be taking questions via the chat this time due to the time constraint we have. So any questions you have, just post them in the chat. Let's see who was first on the stream. So we've got Nikki. Hey, Nikki. That's quite the name. He says, LFG, this is where the money is made. Stacking use. All right. Brocanudo, what's up? Good to have you here. Astrobots in the house. Yes. And hello. Welcome. All right. So title for this stream is actually going through our top altcoin picks for this month. For those of you who've been following us for the last few months, hopefully you've made a lot of money on Canto. Canto is up over 500%, I believe even 700% in the last month and a half, 2 months. But basically, it has done incredibly well, especially in a time like this. So that's why, at least for me, as a value investor, I believe in deep value investing, regardless of the macro. So I don't think I think there's always a bull market somewhere, even in a bear market. So if you have the narrative that if it's a bear market or if it's a recession, if the macro is not right, or if the Fed's doing X, Y, Z, you can't find alpha. I think you miss out on some big gains like this. So that being said, Forrest, what's your take on the market right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Do we want to just go ahead and jump into charts or just trying to get an overview?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that works.
Okay. Yeah. So taking a peek here at the macro, S&P 500 is breaking bear market structure and breaking this downtrend line. So it's always good to just keep an eye peeled and say, oh, hey, this is very interesting. We got our inverse head and shoulders here. So this has been really conducive to letting crypto run a little bit. Now, speaking of crypto, jumping right into Bitcoin, we've actually, Bitcoin broke its bear market structure considerably.
Yep. Apologies real quick. Producer, could we have Forrest full screen? And then just have maybe me on the side. We're trying to kind of organize the screen here.
No, I just have the single screen. Forrest is sharing just a single screen on his monitor.
Okay, maybe just take me off screen and make Forrest full screen, then we'll bring me back once it's done. Okay, apologies to our audience.
Forrest, can you share your screen with your video on? Because I can see just only yours.
Yeah, so Forrest, if you just do share on the... Okay, all right, so as we take care of those technical issues here, hope everybody's doing well. All right, there we go. All right, perfect. then for us, if you could just turn your screen back to you, because I think maybe
Yep.
you were using some kind of switcher or something.
Oh, yep. I'll get that back to me. There we go.
All
Cool.
right, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah. All right, so I'll kind of just reiterate. S&P 500, we've broken our bear market structure, our downtrend line. So I don't think we're out of the woods yet in terms of recession. But like Ian said, we don't necessarily need positive macro in order to make money in crypto. However, it does help. So just a couple of examples of where we've seen these bump and run patterns. You break the downtrend line, make support on the back of it. Break the downtrend line, make support on back of it. Do beware of, hey, we've broken the downtrend line on the S&P 500. Very frequently when you break out of a bearish trend in the S&P 500 or any trend for that matter, you do make support on the back of it. So we could go up higher, maybe get that gut check correction, and then continue up higher. I don't think we're out of the woods yet in terms of recession, but for now, the market is running. That's great. We're seeing an inverse head and shoulders, higher high, higher low. This is a bullish pattern. So while we've got a bullish pattern developing and bullish sentiment in the S&P 500 in the legacy markets, that's going to allow crypto to run, and that's going to present a lot of opportunities for us. Now, similar thing going on with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been fairly correlated with the legacy markets, but we've broken bear market structure here, and Bitcoin and crypto has actually led or front run the S&P 500 in the legacy markets in breaking its bear market structures, breaking through the 21-week simple moving average, breaking through its downtrend levels, and now we're just kind of floating in this really awkward zone. And I call it an awkward zone because if we do throw on some resistance levels here, we are kind of in this awkward area of resistance where Bitcoin wants to break out. It's looking very bullish, but on some of these shorter term timeframes, especially, and even on the daily here, what we're printing is bearish divergence on Bitcoin. So it does look like it's completely possible, and we don't know for sure, of course, but it does look like it's completely possible that we may come back down, get that gut check correction before potentially heading back up into our red easy band zone. Now, I do want to take a peek at Bitcoin last market cycle because we've essentially gotten the exact same pattern as we did last cycle. I say exact, it's very, very similar. So rejection at the 21-week simple moving average, a move down into the green easy band region, sideways accumulation, and then a pump through our 21-week simple moving average. And this is where we're at right now. We're in this kind of bull flag pattern. It does look like this time around, maybe we come back down to test our 21-week simple moving average. But last market cycle, last bear market, we didn't. And we accelerated, Bitcoin accelerated into the red easy band zone into a bear market rally. So if we're only right here and we follow something similar to last bear market cycle, we actually have a lot of meat left on the bone. And there's actually a lot of room for crypto to run a little bit here. My thesis is that Bitcoin will probably underperform Ethereum and some Ethereum layer 2s and some altcoins. And I do think the altcoin market may outperform or will likely outperform Bitcoin this time around. So I don't know if we'll just get that, double wave and stab into the red easy band zone. But I think in a bear market rally situation here for Bitcoin, we could certainly see 30K Bitcoin, maybe even 38K on the high side. 28K is kind of our initial resistance there. And what that's going to mean for altcoins and for us is that there's a lot of money making opportunities here if altcoins continue to run. So beware of this little bit of bearish divergence here for Bitcoin. A lot of times what you get is a stab down, that gut check correction, and then the bulls come in to buy that back up, and it sends things higher. Right now, Bitcoin is stable. Bitcoin's stable, and that's allowing altcoins to run. If we go over to altcoin dominance, we're starting to see altcoin dominance turn up just a little bit this week. And as much as altcoins have run, what's exciting about this is just a little tiny, I mean, you can barely see it probably on your screens, how little of a bounce we've gotten in altcoin dominance, right? If we actually get a nice move up towards the top of this range for altcoin dominance, that means alts are going to run a lot against Bitcoin. So the longer Bitcoin can just remain stable here, right, the better altcoins are potentially going to perform. What's holding Bitcoin up, in my opinion, or what's allowing Bitcoin to stay elevated here is that the S&P 500 isn't crashing. It's difficult for Bitcoin to do this if the S&P 500 is crashing. We go back over to the S&P 500 and we see that's really like yesterday I believe was 1.5% gain on the S&P 500. If we look at the last 2 weeks here, it's up over 5%. So the more bullishness that we see out of the S&P 500, that's going to allow Bitcoin's price to stay elevated. That's going to allow risk assets to perform. And right now we're seeing a really nice bounce in altcoin dominance, which is hopefully going to allow altcoins to run. So speaking of altcoins, I think it's best to kick it over to Ian to cover some altcoins that he's been taking a look at in the Tokenmetrics platform.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Ian, you there? Yep.
Yeah. All right. Apologies. We're just fixing my audio. Let me know if the audio sounds better now. Okay.
Yeah, a little better.
All right. So, all right. Awesome. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right. Do you see my screen? Do you see the market page?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So first thing first, you'll notice if you go into the Tokenmetrics market page, which is a free page, you just go to app.tokenmetrics.com/market. And I want to give people an overview on how to actually read this chart, because if you notice this, it's been going back and forth, and right now it actually flipped bearish this week. What does that mean? Does that mean go completely out of the market? No. Basically, the way to read this is basically now shifting to a more risk-off environment. So the way this works is our indices use the market indicator to know when they should start allocating more capital towards stablecoins. So if you actually go to the indices, you'll notice that they've begun to allocate capital towards stablecoins. So I'll pull up an example here. These are the updated indices we've made post the FTX crash. So they're still trying to recover from that as we optimize them. But if we pick an example, let me pick, just give me 1 second here, right? So now you see we have Tether, we have USDC, and we have Binance USD coin. So they're basically, in essence, hedging and taking profits. So even though we'll still have 90% of tokens still having a bullish low frequency and a bullish breakout strategy, and the bull and bear has bounced back from being basically below 20, as low as 10%, all the way now to over 80% and 82%. It's basically saying you can still be in the market, but we'll start allocating capital now towards stablecoins. So basically start hedging or start taking profits on any movers that have gone up in the last 1 to 2 months, right? So as you see here, we're still in Bitcoin season. We're not fully yet in altcoin season. So potentially we haven't really hit the real bull run. So whether you want to call this a bull trap, for me, I don't like to use that kind of language. I just like to look at the market each week and each month and kind of go with what we have and just try to find value. But the main things I want to look at are the products we covered last time. So let's look at an update on Canto. So Canto, FTV now is over $500 million. We covered this when the FTV was way below that, right? So if we go to the actual returns, in the last 30 days, it's done 478%, which is incredible, right? We also covered this, I believe, in December. December price was basically at around, this is January price. Yeah, so Canto, I know there was a governance vote happening this week, and there's been lots of attention. Basically, everybody else has kind of discovered how undervalued it is relative to the value prop and relative to the actual TVL. Because the example we kept on giving was, if you take Canto, which is a Cosmos EVM, Ethereum virtual machine, that had way more TVL than Evmos. Evmos, also a Cosmos EVM, was way overvalued relative to its TVL, right? So the example I gave was, if you go to DeFi Llama, I can spell, and we go to chains, And if we go to Cosmos ecosystem, right? Let me just change lighting here. So basically, looking at TVL, Canto TVL has actually gone up in the last month, 162%. It's now at 175 versus Evmos. Do we even have Evmos here? Yeah, Evmos down here, all the way down here. Less than a million TVL. So when I told people Evmos was overvalued relative to its FTV, right? It basically had, at the time, I believe it was 4 times the FTV of Canto, while Canto had, I think it was like, yeah, a lot more TVL. So as of today, Canto has 175 times more TVL than Evmos. Yet Evmos still has a high valuation, right? So the question now is Canto still a good investment? I would not tell you that. I think the money was getting in early. Once it starts to run, it's kind of hard to really look at it. But now the market has readjusted. Now Canto has a higher TVL, I'm sorry, higher FTV than Evmos. The question I ask now is, can Canto get to Cosmos FTV? I don't think that's possible, because if we go back currently, Canto at half a billion FTV, if it does a 10x from this current FTV, it would surpass Atom in actual FTV. Is that really likely? In my opinion, probably not. I mean, unless, with all things being equal, right? If Cosmos just stays flat, we get our data from CoinMarketCap, but basically we'll just use the market cap as FTV because I think it's kind of the same now with Cosmos. They're basically 4.4 billion FTV market cap, but I don't really see a world where a Cosmos EVM has a higher FTV than Cosmos itself. Now, maybe that could happen. Maybe Cosmos is kind of like that because it is really an internet of blockchains. So maybe it is possible. Maybe it's just kind of the hub, right? And other L1s could have a higher market cap. But I think that's the point where I get very concerned and worried that maybe Canto is becoming overvalued. But it's definitely worth keeping on your list if you missed the boat. I think definitely worth looking at it. And if we end up going back into a prolonged bear market, I think I would prefer for the FTV to come back down to earth and then maybe get back in, because I'm looking at this versus other EVMs. If we actually do that, if we actually go back here, let's compare Canto to all the EVMs out there, all the Ethereum EVMs. So in terms of TVL, so we said it was 175 million. So it's ninth. We've got Chronos, we've got Phantom, we've got Optimism, Avalanche. So if we actually, is there an EVM category here? Here, we'll just do smart contract platforms. So let's think that, okay, you know what? It's possible that Canto could surpass Cosmos itself in FTV. What would that look like? So looking at this, we've got Polygon with 12 billion FTV. We've got let me see what other examples we want to look at. We've got, I know Near has Aurora, Phantom 2 billion FTV. So to me, that's a hard sell. We've got Arbitrum, which has no token launched. We've got Avalanche. So what's Avalanche FTV? Not sure why Avalanche is not here. Okay, let's pull this up real quick. Avalanche has 15 billion FTV. Now, is Canto the next Avalanche? I don't think it's quite there yet. I think we would need a whole new catalyst. So I think from half a billion, I think you're looking at probably a 5x return from here if we're going to remain bullish. So the question is, are you willing to invest in Canto for 5x at this current valuation? or are there better opportunities that are more undervalued? And to me, I think there are some other opportunities that are undervalued relative to where Canto is, but Canto is still a good long-term hold. Now, okay, so let's shift to what tokens do we like currently if we're to trade. So if we come to the platform and shift to trader grade, I want to go through and basically see what the platform has and see if we can pick out any big themes for this month. So let me actually add some filters here. So I'm adding a filter for trading volume, daily trading volume of 5 million or more to filter out some of these degen plays. Then, all right, so looking at all this, we've got Floki, we've got Avgachi has been high on our list for a while. I do like the market cap on FTV. Canto is still a good trade, but if you're thinking more of long term, that I would be careful with because the price you get it at does matter. We have Rocket Pool is still on here as the Ethereum Shanghai upgrade happens. This is basically liquid staking derivative. Injective protocol, this is one we've covered. Still bullish on this. I think this is undervalued. I think this is probably the next big one to run, kind of like Canto. So this is on our list. Let me actually add this to my favorites here. So I would say if I had to pick coins for the month, for now, I would just build a watch list and then look at the platform and see which ones make sense trading. But I would be looking at Avigoche. Trading for the month, if you think of 5x is reasonable, but I think there'll be some kind of pullback or correction. Just going straight up to a 5x return in this market with no pushback, I don't think it's reasonable. However, to play devil's advocate, Canto is still on a DEX. It has no centralized exchange listing yet. So if that happens, because right now it's done a 5x with people basically having to go use a bridge, use a DEX to get Canto. So imagine if this gets added on an actual legit exchange, whether Binance, Coinbase, what have you, then I could see this maybe even rallying even more. So I think this could do a 5x again this month. So we've got Avigoche, Canto, Injective, Arweave. Arweave is one we're bullish on long term. I would say if you compare Arweave, I've talked about this before, but basically it's FDV. If we go to storage sector, right? So just give me a second here. I could see Arweave potentially being a good trade, but similar to Canto and Evmos, the sector is valuing Filecoin, its competitor, if this would load, and basically last time I checked, about a 10 billion FDV, and Arweave was, I believe, under a billion FDV. I'm not sure why
I'm a big fan of Arweave as well.
You are? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
they have a big
good.
competitive advantage. They do permanent storage, whereas Filecoin, if you stop paying the bill, you know your storage goes away. Same thing with AWS being centralized, but Arweave does permanent storage. So when you're talking about like expensive NFTs and even just NFTs in general, you kind of want to have that peace of mind that the storage, your NFT metadata is stored forever. So it's kind of a higher beta play on NFTs as well as storage. Super interesting. I like Arweave a lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure why CoinGecko is not loading for me, guys. Just give me 1 second here. I was trying to go. Okay, there we go. All right. So storage. Yeah. So basically, Filecoin has 11.3 billion FTV versus Arweave 800 million FTV. So now we still believe Filecoin has better technology and has more adoption. Filecoin IPFS. However, we don't think the gap is that drastic, right? So I think Arweave could definitely do a 3x, maybe even 5x, and be readjusted relative to its value prop versus Filecoin. I don't think Filecoin is 10 times better than Arweave, basically, right? So similar to Evmos, I think the same thing's going to, and Canto, same thing will happen with Filecoin, Arweave. That's the other project I'll be looking at for this month. So we actually scooped up some Arweave this week as we had some for the long term, but even as a trade, based on the trader grade. I know lots of people have been talking about AI, the whole AI narrative. If you had to pick tokens, which we shared with our customers for the whole AI play, the ones we like are Fetch.ai, Ocean as well. So those two are on our list. And if you're looking for an IoT play, IoTex is a pretty solid project. It has high scores. It's been around for a while. They've gone through form of verification, kind of like Cardano. But every cycle it kind of does well. It's on lots of exchanges like Binance and others. But fundamentals are good, but I still think it hasn't really taken off yet. So that's one other element. Now, one other one I'll cover that I shared with our customers this week is actually one of our coins of the month last month. It was actually Solana. If we go to Solana, we've been very, very bullish on them ever since the whole FTX thing happened, right? Because it dropped down 95%, and to a point where we felt it was being undervalued by the market. After everything it did last cycle, when there was blood in the street, when there were forced sellers, we began to basically accumulate Solana. And the thing I really want to point out that has made me get even more bullish between Solana and Helium. So Solana right now, I think is a good time to accumulate. Helium, it was a huge winner, did 400x return last cycle. Then it's kind of crashed basically, right? Went as high as $54, almost $55, has dropped now to under $3. There's been lots of FUD out there about people having lots of hotspots, myself as well, but people not earning enough rewards. However, getting to a point where they're now pivoting over to leaving their own blockchain to joining Solana. And I was asking myself, why does this matter, right? To me, I felt like this was execution risk. But this week, that my mind has changed after I saw a tweet that I'm going to pull up here from one of the tech leads for the Helium Foundation. Basically, that has made me more bullish on the synergy between Helium and Solana. So basically, this comes from Joey Hiller saying, Wild, I just directly paid for a cellular data plan using crypto. Basically, if you see here, this says Helium LTE. So Helium has almost 1 million hotspots globally. And when I first met the CEO, Frank Monk, he had mentioned that, well, he didn't mention that, kind of alluded or kind of pried it out of him indirectly, whether Helium would turn into a cell phone network. But now having almost 1 million hotspots globally, I think we're getting close to that. But why this makes me even more bullish now, this is more so on the long term, we have Helium LTE, right? So all those hotspots now becoming an actual cell phone network. And then if I pull up this is basically a blog post they had actually last year. I actually missed this, didn't really read too much into it, right? Basically Helium Mobile, the world's first crypto carrier. But where this all kind of comes full circle, this is actually the link to the site. It's called hellohelium.com, where you go through and basically join the waitlist for Helium Mobile. And it's supposed to be launching, I believe, sometime this quarter. So I think this is why now this could be a good potential swing trade. So we have plans from 1 gig all the way to unlimited voice and calling with Helium Mobile. Let me go to the actual launch. Yeah, it says Helium Mobile will launch early 2023. So I would say Q1, Q2 2023. Now to bring this story home, this is a tweet also from last year, I would say like end of last year, around fall, around September, I believe, that I missed from the co-founder of Solana, basically saying all the same HNT features that users love, like staking, mining still work, but users get access to DeFi smart contracts, hardware, and software wallets, fiat ramps. Then it says, I can't wait to use Helium as my 5G network. Okay. And then there was a post I saw somewhere else. Let me see if I could pull this up here. And basically, I shared this on the private alerts channel with our customers. I can't find the link, but basically, Joey responded back saying, basically pairing the Solana phone, which is basically Solana's blockchain crypto-centric cell phone, with a cell phone carrier that's also crypto based, I think creates a huge flywheel. So imagine being able to purchase a Solana phone that's directly on Helium Mobile. So to me, that's made me even more bullish on Solana and Helium. And we've actually began to speed up how much we're accumulating in Sol, right? Because I think based on where it is, based on the investor grade, but now before we had paused on accumulating more Helium because we're also kind of getting word with the whole FUD about nobody actually wanting to use or actually spend HNT to pay for internet access or Wi-Fi access on their hotspots. But I think if we now switch to people, because I think if we have a huge 0 to 1 catalyst that takes Solana back to all-time highs and beyond, what's that going to be? I think a big catalyst could be the world's first crypto phone by Solana, powered by Helium Mobile. And I think if that's going to happen, I'm basically going to accumulate more Sol and also accumulate more Helium, more HNT. Because if that happens, if that takes off, if that gets mainstream adoption, in the same manner how we had like DeFi as a huge catalyst, how we had NFTs as a huge catalyst, if we now have a crypto phone as a huge catalyst, I think Solana and Helium go back to all-time highs and maybe even higher. So to me, this has been a huge fundamental catalyst to cause this huge shift. And at current valuations, I think that makes a lot of sense, but could also be risky. I think the Helium part is risky. Solana, not so much, but I think Helium, we have to see this actual usage and adoption, but I think that can be made easy if people buy a cell phone that's already paired with Helium as a carrier. All right, so that's my take. I know I kind of been rambling, but curious to see what the audience thinks. First, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I echo that same sentiment. I think people are sleeping on the Solana phone, and more so, I think a lot of people look at phones as like, okay, how are you going to come in from a hardware perspective and try and a software perspective and try to compete with the market, and particularly Apple? How are you going to get people to get rid of their cell phones or get rid of their iPhones rather and adopt the Solana phone? But what I think is more interesting in the bigger play is like a Solana Web3 App Store. Apple takes such a large portion of every transaction that goes through the Apple App Store. It's like 30%. It's like a tax on like the entire internet of mobile apps. So I think there's a lot of incentive for people to come in and developers to come in and develop Web3 apps, cell phone apps to be a part of the Solana App Store, and that's going to drive a lot of development and great innovation on Solana and on the Solana phone. And if Helium Network's positioned to benefit from that, then that's obviously super bullish. So no, I'm a fan of Solana. I think I agree with that sentiment there quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm definitely gonna look into potentially pre-ordering a phone as well, just to kind of experiment, right? I feel like in crypto, you always want to experiment and see how things go. But yeah, I think if they can really get the App Store right, now you have a platform for developers who want to get added to the App Store, right? It's kind of like with Apple and Google, and that could be a huge platform for both blockchains or both projects. All right, so let's check in with the comments here and take a few questions. Let's see here. Technology says Tokenmetrics makes my investing plan so much easier. I thank you, appreciate that. Jan says, like in the good old days, Ian and Forrest on the same stream. Good to see you guys. Thank you. Levy says, how do Astrobot holders take advantage of the indicators? Well, you basically log in. So you log in, you go to any token on the token details page, and it has the visual trends indicator. Then we also put out an email regarding an update to the trading view indicator we put out. So just check that as well. Somebody's saying Canto next 100x. Potentially, I mean, we'll see. I mean, if crypto, because think about it, we're still in Bitcoin season. We haven't really gone into alt season. So, I mean, anything is possible. Jackson says Harmony is also doing well too. That's also on our list. Nikki says Stack Polygon. Okay, let me find some. Do you have any questions here? And says, I bought Kanto on MEXC. Yeah, so that's an exchange that's kind of reputable relative to altcoin degen exchanges. Now, because for us, we trade with our fund, we have to kind of, we haven't really joined that exchange just for some other stuff. Let me see if I can find some question. Brandon says, Android phones do sell though. Okay, Harmbliss says, what do you think about the massive development Polkadot is doing? Forrest, any thoughts on Polkadot?
Yeah. So in kind of the circles that I'm in, I don't see a lot of talk about Polkadot. Everyone's excited about Ethereum and Ethereum layer 2s. So I don't, for maybe I'm just not in the right circles. Maybe I'm not in the right crypto Twitter, echo bubbles or whatnot. Maybe I'm just not on Polkadot Twitter. I don't see a lot of talk about it. But what I will say is they do have, I believe, the second most developers of any blockchain, second to Ethereum. And they've got a phenomenal team. I mean, they've got Gavin Wood. I know he stepped aside as CEO and is taking more of a technical role, which is probably a plus. But to be quite honest, I'm not seeing like the boots on the ground adoption from the crypto community. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to perform well and that the ecosystem's not going to perform well. But I hear more excitement about Cosmos, more excitement about Kanto. Just as far as the blockchain interoperability play goes, it feels like to me that Cosmos is doing a really good job of catching up and closing the gap. And Polkadot is still valued very, very highly. So I'm sure there's some individual plays within that ecosystem that are going to perform well, but right now Polkadot as a hold or a buy for me is I'm just not seeing the excitement about it that I would like to make an investment.
Okay, yeah, I think Polkadot is definitely very interesting. I mean, tech is pretty solid. Now, the Electric Capital Developer Report that was put out about a few weeks ago showed that actually Polkadot has the second largest developer ecosystem, which is rather surprising because it's been pretty quiet in the last market cycle. It was one of the first movers, but I think after all the Polkadot coins were kind of pumping and then dumped, people kind of moved on, right? Because you had projects like Polkastar and others. But I think with the whole parachain problem, developers are finding it tough to, one, get capital and financing to enter the Polkadot ecosystem. So I think that's been adding friction. To kind of echo Forrest's statements as well, I believe that we're seeing more development or more activity in Ethereum, of course, especially L2s, ZK rollups, but especially Arbitrum. And then I think we're also seeing more development, at least with us, in the Cosmo ecosystem. Lots of developers are really just migrating to the Cosmo ecosystem or just the Cosmo SDK because not having to have the same barrier of the parachains. So I think unless they fix that, I believe they might be doing some kind of governance proposal to change that or make that different. I don't know. I haven't kept tabs on that, but I think if they do that, then we can see more adoption. But I think the adoption element has been an issue in terms of Polkadot. But good project, rated highly. Right now, investor grade is 77%. So I'll put it on a watch list. Tokenomics are good. Would I trade this at the moment? Actually, trader grade is pretty good. So definitely worth looking into as a trade. But that's my take on that. All right, so thank you for that question. Let's see here. Future is AI and Metaverse, so please suggest a coin. Well, I mean, I can definitely discuss a coin. Well, I think AI, the ones we like, so we mentioned fetched.ai. I would also say Ocean. One that I am very biased in is basically AstroDAO. For those who followed us, Tokenmetrics, we've launched our DeFi protocol that basically lets anybody passively invest in crypto. But the reason why I say that is people will start to see once we launch, because we're still waiting on our audit, which will finish probably sometime in February. This is the token, AstroDAO, ASTRA. But basically, once we launch, our plan is to take our token metrics indices. So if we go here, so take our indices. So for instance, we plan to have the Uniswap index, for example. Then, so in this case, it will take all ERC20 tokens available on Uniswap using our TM grade. and using the TM Data API, which is a product we launched last month. Basically, TM Data API as the bridge to take our data and send it via smart contracts to create an automated index you can buy on AstroDAO. So taking our AI indices, right? So we'd like to start initially with a handful of indices. So let's say Uniswap index, maybe even some sector-based indices. So we could take categories, we could take DeFi, we could take NFTs using our AI TM grade and the data API and smart contracts and create them as automated indices directly on AstroDAO. This is something customers have been asking for, is for a way to passively invest in our indices and our tech. But where this gets even better, we can then also build trading strategies for these tokens using our visual trends indicator. So kind of like token sets, the idea is, let's say you want to trade Bitcoin using AI, right? So we would just, this ART-based, we can take wrapped Bitcoin as a trading pair. So if I just pull this up here, and I go to trader. So let's take wrapped Bitcoin, WBTC. We can basically get this, and my browser is taking a while to load. All right, there we go, right? So if we zoom in here, we can say, okay, I want to trade wrapped BTC using the, actually zoom out here, using the visual trends indicator. So in this case, we have this, right? So whenever it goes bearish, I want to sell, and whenever it turns bullish, I want to buy using our AI. So we could then basically just create an index using our data API and the TM data on AstroDAO that's just basically wrapped BTC and a stablecoin like Tether, USDC, DAI. In this case, let's say it will be WBTC/USDC. So basically, it would initially be stablecoin because basically you deposit stablecoin into Astra. When this turns bullish, purchase WBTC. When it turns bearish, sell, take profits into that stablecoin, and just go back and forth, back and forth. So I think this would be a huge value add to the AstroDAO platform, being able to take all our ratings and our indices, because now anybody can create their own index, right? But it's not just an index. So similar to tokens, so it's basically, you could also create your own trading pairs, where it's just two tokens trading. I think that'll be pretty cool. So definitely keep an eye out for that once we launch that. Forrest, do you have any AI coins you like?
No, I'm taking the Warren Buffett approach for this. I think there's going to be a huge AI narrative, but I am not an AI analyst, nor am I an expert. So I'm going to default to people who are, such as yourself and such as the Tokenmetrics platform. So I haven't done a ton of deep research into AI. I actually think it's interesting that they brought up Metaverse and AI, because I think the two are quite similar. So you have kind of like, not similar in their technology, but in the narrative that we're going to get. So ChatGPT was essentially the catalyst that made everybody realize that AI is here to stay, and it's going to be transformative to the space and to the industry, and it sparked this AI narrative. I think that's going to continue to snowball. Just like last cycle, we saw Facebook change their name to Meta and adopt this bullish stance on the metaverse, and that was the catalyst that sparked Decentraland and Sandbox going parabolic. But what I think we are also going to have in the AI space, just like we saw in the metaverse space, is there's going to be some overvaluations, and there's going to be some bad products that end up becoming over speculated on, just like the .com bubble, just like we have in every single crypto bubble. So for example, a lot of people say, metaverse, Sandbox, Decentraland. But if you actually look at their user bases versus their fully diluted valuations, you look at Sandbox, I believe it has a $2 billion fully diluted valuation, but it's got like 600 to 1,000 daily active users. That's to me, that's a red flag as an investor. I want to invest in things that have a very, very strong user base. So for me, my approach, as somebody who is not an AI expert, I'm going to be looking at a user adoption. And I haven't found any analytics or particular plays that are being, heavily used yet, but I honestly haven't taken a deep dive into that. But I will share my screen briefly here because I do want to show you guys how this user adoption metric is so important. So not necessarily a metaverse play, but a blockchain gaming play that actually Token Metrics put me onto back in February, March, April of 2022 that did extraordinarily well. So STEPN was a phenomenal play, very profitable for me. But what you have to keep in mind is that when the way the tokenomics are structured, as soon as user base starts coming down, that's your signal that you may want to be taking profits and getting out. So I think there's going to be a ton of winners in the AI space. I think there's going to be a ton of winners in the blockchain gaming space. But my personal North Star metric is looking at new user growth. So as soon as we saw new user growth peak in basically May of 2022, you go over to the GST token. That's when it collapsed, April 29th and into May. That's when we saw this collapse in the GST token because you need new users coming in. So I just kind of wanted to reiterate that. And I think there was a question on the graph. I wanted to drop this in here because my brother worked at Chainlink for, I believe, a year and a half, just recently left. But the consensus over at Chainlink, and I don't want to put words in, Chainlink's mouth as, a company or an organization, but he told me the general consensus over there was that the graph was very difficult to work with and not ideal, and there's a lot of issues with it. And what they're actually very excited about is something called Space and Time. I don't believe there's a token yet, but this is a project that I'm working I'm watching very closely. It's got really top tier partners, so obviously Chainlink, Polygon, Microsoft Azure, AWS, Avalanche, NVIDIA, Miston Labs. That's the organization and studio that's behind SUI, SUI, I believe. And top tier, pretty top tier investors as well, and advisors. So everything checks out. This is, Space and Time is legitimate. It's going to be a graph competitor, basically allowing you to query smart contracts or query blockchains and integrate them into smart contracts. So I saw that question about the graph. This is what I'm looking at. Again, I don't know what the valuation is going to be if and when they do drop a token. It may be overhyped and overvalued, but if you're looking at something that is in line with the use case and value proposition of the graph, this is where my my personal attention is being directed right now, just because I've heard such good things about Space and Time directly from the Chainlink team.
All right, awesome. Thank you for that, Forrest. We'll definitely look into that as well. All right, so let's see if we have any other questions from the audience. Somebody was asking, what's your portfolio, Forrest? What are you holding at the moment?
What's my portfolio? I am very, very allocated. So I recently put out in late December a deep dive, a 24-page deep dive on the DeGods, Utes, and Dust ecosystem. And I think there's a lot of opportunities in the market overall right now. A lot of stuff is doing well. But personally, I'm very, very allocated to this ecosystem. So basically, I think the store of value play to outperform, and that I think most things are going to have a very difficult time outperforming for a long period of time, is Ethereum, because of the deflationary tokenomics. So basically, I have my store of value in ETH, and otherwise, I am very, very temporarily, probably for the next 3 to 4 months, allocated to, I'll share my screen here. This is Dust. It's a $56 million fully diluted market cap token. So full disclosure, I'm super allocated, but you asked, right? The audience asked. So I'm not sitting here trying to pump my bags. It is what it is. It's a little bit higher risk to be in something that's lower cap like this. But I've done a ton of research on this ecosystem and a ton of research on the team. They're extra, like they were in the founders were in a space yesterday evening with Sandeep, the founder of Polygon. Polygon gave them a $3 million equity free grant to move their collection over to and basically start a launch pad that's going to be launching NFT projects within the Polygon ecosystem. It's an area of focus for Polygon this year. And this is the ecosystem, or this is the organization that put out DGods. It's the organization that put out Utes, the top 2 projects on Solana, and they're moving over to Ethereum and Polygon respectively. And the amount of liquidity that I expect to come into the DGods project over the next couple of months as they move over to Ethereum is very, very high. So that's basically the thesis. They're moving over to Ethereum, where there's way, way, way more money, more serious collectors. We saw an a Bored Ape Yacht Club whale come in and sweep. He bought 69 DGods with one sweep because he's excited about them moving to Ethereum. We're seeing people trade their Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs, their Bake NFTs directly for DGods. So this is a big catalyst play for me. I won't be heavily allocated in the sense that, you know, I'm not all in, but I'm very heavily allocated to this as a swing trade, as a swing play. But I do plan to take some profits, obviously, once it plays out a little bit. But that is where a large portion of my portfolio. I'll switch back to just my screen here. A large portion of my portfolio is at the moment. It's very, I'm very excited about it. Clearly, very heavily allocated, taking a little bit of a larger risk here. And then their token is just, you know, ingrained into their entire ecosystem. Dust Labs builds or is building the launchpad, the NFT launchpad on Polygon. They're also building tooling so that basically anyone with a community can come in and launch an NFT project and not have to have the technical capabilities to do so. And they can just focus on growing the community. Also, they've got the last thing I'll say is they've got big partnerships in the works. I've heard about some of the partnerships and the people that they're talking with. But essentially the idea is that you'll be able to own these NFTs, stake them for points, and be able to exchange those points in a rewards marketplace with really big brands. So basically, it's not been, I don't believe, publicly confirmed yet, but all the big brands that you see onboarded into Polygon are also talking with, or most of them, I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of the big brands that you see onboarded into the Polygon ecosystem have direct relationships with the Dust Labs and the D Labs ecosystem or founders. So a little bit of alpha there for you guys. That's where I'm
definitely very fascinating. Yeah, I've been kind of looking more and more into them, especially in terms of their, because I think Utes and DGods kind of was one of the first projects to really get adoption in terms of having people stake their NFTs, I believe.
Yep.
Right, and I think that's kind of shown that that's a good way to kind of add utility to NFTs. Because I know some people were asking about us doing the same thing with Astrobots, and we are looking into it, so stay tuned. But I think it's definitely cool that they were able to kind of pioneer all of that. Now, what's the Dust token used for?
Yeah, so the Dust token, they've been relatively quiet about it because they still have about a month left of emissions. And so long as they're in control of emissions, they can't make forward-looking statements about the Dust token. But they're launching something basically called Dust OS. So all the projects that they onboard and into their launchpad and start launching within the Polygon ecosystem are going to be using, it's assumed and semi-confirmed that they're going to be using the Dust token. So like every time you stake or unstake an NFT, that's going to cost Dust. So it's essentially going to be used as a gas token for their ecosystem. Every time you exchange rewards or you do an art upgrade. So they're really big into doing seasons. So you've got like Madden, you've got NBA 2K11, NBA 2K12, NBA 2K13. It's the same game every single year, but they just resell millions and millions of copies because they update it and they do a new season. So one of the things that they do with DGods is every 6 to 12 months, they do a new season of art and they update the metadata to add a new image or a new metadata so that you accumulate more art into that one single NFT. And that model is going to very likely percolate into their launchpad model. So every time you do art upgrades and every time you want to upgrade your art of any of these projects that launch on their launchpad, is going to cost Dust. It's also potentially, and this would be the big use case, is potentially going to be used for minting on their Polygon launchpad, which would be huge. So if you have a ton of projects that are requiring Dust to mint or get a discount for minting in Dust, that would be a huge demand. But the real thing here is I'm betting one of the among many of the other things that I'm looking at. I'm looking at for partnerships with Nike and Starbucks. I think that's what breaks the internet and sends their floor value through the roof. As soon as they get an integration with Starbucks and Nike in their rewards marketplace, that's gonna be all over headlines, and that's what I'm looking for. So it's not guaranteed, it's speculative, but I have reason to believe that those things are likely to come.
All right, that would definitely be pretty huge. Looks like somebody's asking why I'm not bullish on Pulse Chain. Well, I mean, first of all, I know Richard. I've met him several times. We talk. He's friends. He's actually been in the Tokenmetrics private discussion group with the customers for a while, and when we initially launched. So, and even in the past with Hex, my thesis on Hex was the technology was not good. However, it was a free airdrop. Right? I think you had to just basically, if you had Bitcoin, you would claim the airdrop. So I said, if it's an airdrop, there's no harm, no foul, right? Basically, free money is free money in crypto. We all love airdrops. Then I said same thing with Pulse Chain. If it's an airdrop, that's all fine. But if it's an actual investment, if you have to exchange your Ethereum, because I've kind of seen contradictory statements in terms of whether it's an airdrop, whether you have to, if you missed it, you have to actually sacrifice your ETH, and sacrificing ETH for something that's an altcoin, where I would say not where we're missing some vital details in terms of ownership of, like for example with Hex, those questions about who owned the wallets and XYZ, right? So basically I would say governance, clarity, in terms of everything, right? To kind of give people confidence. But I think if it's free money, take the free money, take the free airdrop. But if you actually have to sacrifice your Ethereum in exchange for that, I would require a higher threshold in terms of what data and information I have to be able to make to take action based off of that. So for me, I would hold off based off of that. But if it's free money, take the free money. All right, so we're getting to the top of the hour. Any last words for us? Maybe where can people learn more about you?
Yeah, so I'm on YouTube under Sistine Research. I'm on Twitter at 0xstacker, and you can go check out the website, Sistine Research. It's sistine.ai. So Sistine, like the Sistine Chapel.ai. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the community if you decide to join.
All right, awesome. And then obviously everybody else can learn more about me and Tokenmetrics, the company, by going to tokenmetrics.com. We have 1 week free trials on our platform. It's a data AI platform. My Twitter is at @DiaryOfAMadeMan. Tokenmetrics is at Tokenmetrics Inc. And then we're also doing a giveaway. We're giving away, I believe, $100 5 times, so up to $500 each week to people who partake in AstroDAO. Just go to the AstroDAO Twitter or Tokenmetrics Twitter for anybody who joins the Telegram group and posts a comment. Our Telegram group has already surpassed 1,000 people. So let me actually get the Telegram group. Just give me 1 second, because people were asking for that. Then we'll wrap up. So Telegram group is at AstroDAO on Telegram. But it's also on our Tokenmetrics Twitter, I think under a retweet. So go there, join, post a message, and we'll pick a winner. We'll pick 5 winners to give $500 worth of Astro tokens. All right, so with that being said, thank you, everybody. Have a great week and a great weekend. Thank you all for being part of the crypto family, and thank you, Forrest, as well. And as we like to say, the moon is not the limit to the moon and beyond. Thank you.